Major Spoilers podcast covers news, reviews, and of course, spoilers, and goes into details about the topics discussed. So if you haven't read, listened, or watched the items we talk about, you might want to come back later.
I'm Matthew.
Rodrigo.
I'm Steven, and you're listening to the Major Spoilers podcast, the podcast for pop culture and comic fans.
In this issue, it's an Avengiversary. There's chrome in all the bunkers, and King Kong is in the wind. Plus, there's a big rig, and you can be a big rig too. The podcast that keeps on giving is giving the podcast to you so that you can give it to all your friends, and that's how virology works. Rolling out the barrel and hitting it with a hammer because the gorilla stole our girlfriend. The Major Spoilers podcast is on the air.
Welcome to issue 1157 of the Major Spoilers podcast. Thank you for downloading and checking us out this week. Hey, we've got a new website, majorspoilers.substack.com. That's where you want to go to see all of our new stuff and all the podcasts and all of the archives of all of our original content. majorspoilers.substack.com. Sign up for the newsletter 3 times a week. This week already, depending on when you're listening, hello, future people. The Wednesday one, I'm always putting out, here's something that you should absolutely read this week. And then I've been doing some by the numbers things. But there's usually some deep thoughts. I know what I'm doing on Friday. Oh, there was some news that came out on this week today that's got me all geared up for Friday's newsletter. You can find out more by going to majorspoilers.substack.com. We also do some reviews on this show. So when do we get to it? We were talking in the pre-show about grief and dealing with grief in weird ways. And then we somehow switched over to video games. And one video game that I have yet to really do anything with because on launch it was really bad is Cyberpunk 2077. But, you know, the company has gone through and they have fixed most of the problems. The game is actually very playable now. Rodrigo, I think you've completed 2077. There is so much additional media out there. There was a fantastic anime series that got a lot of attention, a 3D series, and some more. And of course, Dark Horse Comics has been doing their own series of Cyberpunk 2077 tales. And there's a new one out this week, Cyberpunk 2077 Chrome #1 from Doug Wagner and Tommaso Bennato. And the gist of the story is there are 4 friends, I think 4 friends. They are going to a junkyard so that they can create a new album cover for one of their friends who is a kind of going to be an up-and-coming rock star. The problem is there's rumors that this garbage dump is haunted. And they're like, we're just going to go anyway. What could possibly happen? I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. Have you ever played Cyberpunk 2077? Have you ever seen any of the animes that we've been talking about? Yeah, something's going to happen. And it literally had me going, holy shirt balls, when it happened on panel. And from there, it goes a little crazy. So, Cyberpunk 2077 Chrome #1, a very interesting book. The art is, I don't know how to describe the art. I mean, it's pleasing. I enjoyed it. I think that there's a little bit more blood and guts than what I wanted to see in my comic book, but it's there. Of course, it's Cyberpunk 2077. And so I thought that the premise is a good setup. I want to see where this goes. I think if you're a fan of Cyberpunk 2077, you will want to. Nay, I say you need to go out and pick this up. It's not tied into any gameplay or any of the other greater universe stuff. This is just a tale set in Night City, and I think you will enjoy it very, very much. I'm giving it 4 slices of meatloaf out of 5. Cyberpunk 2077 Chrome #1 out this week from Dark Horse Comics. Rodrigo, I think you would get a kick out of this if you're a fan of the series.
Yeah.
Link in the show notes if you want to pick this up digitally. We've got our Amazon affiliate link. Remember, every time you use our Amazon affiliate link for either my book or any of the books that we're going to talk about next, a little bit comes back our way. And you don't have to just buy the comic books. You can click on those links and you can buy a new computer for Rodrigo because apparently his big giant gaming system is 2 years old. And so he needs a bigger gaming system. It's going to be a little bit more expensive. RAM is very, very precious right now, Rodrigo. You might find that your 2-year-old system is maybe more valuable on the black market than you think. Maybe you should go to Night City to sell it.
It was pretty decent for the time when I got it. I actually got a few, like, how did you manage to find X
Yeah.
from a couple of people that I talked to. So I think this is good. I just make good decisions like that. It's like when I bought my Yaris in 2008. Still going.
There you go. Still going. Speaking of still going, the Avengers are still going. 800 issues strong, Matthew Peterson. And that 800th issue drops on Wednesday.
So, Avengers number 34, number 800, Legacy. By the way, legit, went back, did the math. Written by Jed MacKay and art by Farid Karami with a backup story by Brian Bendis and Mark Bagley. So, issue 800 is weird because it is right in the middle of Jed MacKay's big epic run where the Avengers are basically fighting Kang the Conqueror across space and time and also teaming up with this group that is very clearly meant to be King Arthur and the Round Table in space, which is kind of cool. So the Twilight Court, or the Space Kniggetts, are doing their thing, and of course they've tried to destroy the Avengers several times. It's important that you know that because now they're not anymore. Hyperion, a former Avenger, is in play because I guess it's fun to write a Superman comic. And this is basically part 10 of 12, or part 34 of a 36-issue arc for Jed MacKay. And so I don't want to spoiler too much about it, except in as much as there are some very unexpected pairings. There are some combat sequences in the first half of the book that I did not see coming. And there is a beautiful sequence involving the two most powerful Avengers. That would be Captain Marvel and Storm doing their Captain Marvel and Storm thing. I don't know if you guys have seen the covers, but the covers have, and I went through and I checked, that the covers have the appearance of all the living Avengers who have ever avenged in Avengeriness. So issue 800 has, like, I want to say 85, 90 guys on the cover. The backup story features Captain America and Iron Man hanging out and calling for help. They're in Madripoor, they're in a big fight, and Iron Man doesn't have a way to get through the jamming signals, but he can set off the Avengers emergency frequency. So he and Captain America are soon joined by Thor and the Hulk, and then the Wasp and Ant-Man. And it's a cute story. It's a Bendis story with lots of back and forth talking. Has the best line I've ever heard from Thor. Captain America and Iron Man are patting each other on the back about how well they've done, and Thor's like, "Ha! I too have improved. I no longer proudly announce my own accomplishments." That was in jest. Thor made a joke. But they make one fatal error. So the anniversary story ends with the realization that they never turned off the emergency beacon. So the last page features all the Avengers. Like, all the Avengers showing up to help. We're talking from Ant-Man to the Zeppelin. And I'm going to be honest, it's a really cool issue. It's a really cool page, and it made me miss the late George Perez so much. Bagley, you are a wonderful man, and I want you to know I saw what you did there, but he'll never be George Perez, and that's okay. All in all, though, 3.5 slices of meatloaf. I would have been a little bit nicer to it if it hadn't felt like, and also we're going to stick this big bow on top of the regular issue, and also the fact that it's a $7.99 comic. Definitely worth your time. Definitely worth checking out. MacKay's Avengers is not as beloved to me as Jason Aaron's Avengers run, but it is still good.
All right, there you go. Coming up, what is it, a couple of weeks from now? Is it next week? No, not next week. 2 weeks from now,
Yeah.
Titan Comics is sending us back to that horrible Planet of the Apes.
Boom, 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 boom.
Oh, no, they're sending us back.
That's
to
a different thing.
Skull Island, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh.
Wait a minute. That was our island.
You had the ape part, right?
Yeah.
so-
there is a big ape in this.
I was going to say this is
and-
also a spin-off or a continuation of apparently the Skull Island animated series, which I didn't even know there was a Skull Island animated series.
I did not either. You know me. I hate to read a solicitation ahead of time. So I was like, Escape from Skull Island, I know what that is. It's a monkey book. So there is a giant gorilla in this. There are also Nazis who are fitting to get punched, so that's always fun. This book is split into two. The first half is like back in the 40s, this is happening, and then the next one is like today, and it's very clear that whatever's happening in the Netflix series is happening today because there's just like a little bit more setup the way that the characters talk in the stuff in the 40s where the Nazis are running around Skull Island. And then when we jump to the present, there's just all of these characters and they talk like they already know each other. So I'm like, oh yeah, if I'd ever seen this show, I'd probably know who these people are. But it looks fun. There's a big reveal of a very scary threat that's coming. It's interesting because the big scary threat that's coming, you get to see it, and it looks like it's drawn in a different style from everything else. Like I think the artist here, Christopher Jones, is for all of the characters that are from the series is very much trying to maintain, their what they look like in the show.
Yeah.
But some of the other monsters some of the monsters seem to be like much more detailed and scaly or something. So maybe that's in the show as well. But yeah, all of a sudden it was like, it's like you're flipping through and it's like Jeff Loeb, and then you flip to the back and it's Frank Quitely. Like that's kind of how it felt.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm looking at it right now. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So it's, I mean, it wasn't that jarring because it is supposed to be a big scary thing. And you'll have to pick it up if you want to know what that is. I'm going to give it 2.5 slices of meatloaf. If I knew the series, I might give it a little bit more. This is perfectly fine. You can jump in here. Maybe just do a quick wiki read if you really, really want to know who the characters are, but it's all kind of self-explanatory. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I promise you, one of the characters is not a wiki, so just to kind of put that in your mind.
Yeah, but you know what? King Kong stuff, like King Kong and Godzilla stuff, definitely suffer from the same like kid sidekick kind of thing.
When you said the art style changes, and I was looking at, do you remember, you probably do, because you were probably young enough to be watching this. Do you remember that Godzilla cartoon where it was like these group of kids and like they had
Godzuki?
Yeah, with Godzuki, and then every once in a while Godzilla would come up and do stuff.
Yeah.
That art in the back reminds me of that.
Yeah, I totally get that. I think that's just what you get with giant monster type stuff. It's like if the monsters are sympathetic at all, you end up with like these human sidekicks to sort of be fumbling around them while the monsters do the fun stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cool. Thank you, Rodrigo. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you, dear listener. You want more reviews? Point your browser to majorspoilers.substack.com. And if you would like to support all of the work that we are doing, make sure you head over to patreon.com/majorspoilers. $5 a month is all it takes to get even more Major Spoilers goodness, including the Major Spoilers podcast pre-show that I mentioned a little bit earlier, where we talk about dealing with grief through movies and games and other processes. So go and check that out. A bunch of other stuff. Patreon.com/majorspoilers. Question time for you guys.
Question time
is breakfast. It's breakfast time, and it doesn't matter what your main is: eggs, pancakes, whatever it is. Are you a bacon person or are you a sausage person, Matthew?
Oh, sausage all the way. 2 reasons. One, bacon means a lot of things to a lot of people. And bacon is very difficult to get exactly the way you like it. And secondly, and this is very important, there is a huge war in my home between the people who want crispy bacon that shatters in your teeth and the people who who have taste. And so when my wife is like, I want bacon and I want you to make it the way I like it, I'm like, but that to me feels burnt. I like a thick, chewy bacon, like you're just like,
why not do both?
If you get the sausage, well, because it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort. And to be honest, I mean, we're lazy people. We are, can you start my orange kind of people. We're not going to prepare two kinds of bacon. But if you get a sausage is pretty much uniform, especially if you're getting like a patty. My favorite thing is the Burger King double sausage sandwich, because you can get them on a 2-for-1 deal and it doesn't, kill you. And if you tell them to hold the egg, it's like, oh, I'm doing like a whole keto thing except for the croissant. So, you feel healthy.
Yeah. Rodrigo, are you a bacon or a sausage?
I'd probably go with bacon as long as it was made the way that I want. I'll agree with Matthew that actually, like, if you get bacon but it's not the way that you like it, it can be actually a bad eating experience. And for the record, I'm pretty close to burnt where I like my bacon. I do like it very crispy.
I want you to imagine Donald Sutherland at the end of the 1976 Invasion of the Body Snatchers, because that's what I'm doing right now, and I'm pointing at you.
It's fine. It's fine. When we hang out for breakfast, we should probably just have sausage. But what I'm getting at is that a good bacon eating experience is above and beyond for me what you would get out of sausage. I like sausage just fine, but if I get 2 slices of crispy bacon, that's going to be a much better eating experience for me than if I got 2 perfectly well cooked, like sausage links or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. At our house, because we have nothing but picky people, when we make bacon, there's limp-wristed bacon, there is firm bacon, and then there is crackly, crumbly bacon. And it doesn't matter. Everybody gets what they want. But I'm not a big bacon fan, especially when you get to flavored bacons. So, what I prefer is a really good sausage, and I'm not talking about it like a link or a patty. I'm talking about like a true sausage, like the kind you would have with your bangers and mash. Yeah, a proper sausage. So that's me.
By that, do you mean like an encased sausage,
yes,
or like the sort of sausage that you get like?
No, it has to be encased, and it has to it has to crack open and be crusty on the outside, and
like hiss at you while you're cooking it.
It hisses at you when it's on the plate. Just as soon as you put the fork to it, you hear a psst. That's the good.
Can it be full of cheese?
No. That's an abomination.
Well, we're out.
So I just asked that. I don't know why I asked that, because I'm not a breakfast person in general, but I was thinking about this the other day. For some reason, I think I saw somebody posted their breakfast on one of the socials, and they were like, "What's missing from this?" And my first answer was ketchup, and everyone else was like, "Oh, it's either bacon or sausage." I was like, "No, the answer is ketchup. You got hash browns, you got eggs, it's ketchup." But I'm curious what our dear listeners, whether they are bacon peoples. And you can put in what flavor or firmness that you like, or are you a sausage person? And again, flavor, whatever, let us know. You can do it over in our Discord server. You can join the Discord server absolutely free. Jump into the Major Spoilers channel and share your thoughts to your heart's content. Some people were commenting last time on the question that I had asked. And people are just like, I like fries on my pizza. I'm like, okay, go for it. All right. It is time now to talk about a trade paperback. And I'll be honest. Sometimes when I see somebody in one field crossing over into another field, I kind of get maybe a little bit turned off a little bit. Like, hey, there's this girl, Taylor Swift. She's a country singer. She wants to cross over into a pop. And I'm like, I don't know. Or you hear Coheed and Cambria. They want to do comic books. And I'm like, I don't know, or Fabio Moon, I don't know. And especially when Post Malone, when it was announced from Vault Comics that Post Malone was going to write a comic book called Big Rig, I was like, I don't know, man. This sounds kind of, and I'll say it, whenever I first read the solicitation for this thing, I was like, this sounds like the dumbest idea that I've ever heard. And I will say, and this is why I will say, even though Rodrigo hates reading the solicitations, sometimes the solicitations are wrong.
I mean, the solicitation wasn't wrong.
I mean, you read the solicitation.
Didn't say, by the way, this is so stupid. That was your opinion.
No, you read this and you're like, oh, I read the solicitation. This sounds stupid. No, don't read the solicitation, because this comic book was kind of awesome. So this is Post Malone. What is he? Is he a rapper? Is he a rocker?
He's a pop musician, I would say.
Pop guy?
Yeah.
Okay, he's got a lot of tattoos. I know that.
He sings. He does think. He does have a lot of tattoos.
And he lives in Utah. I know he lives up the street from Scott somehow, some way. Scott Johnson over at Frog Pants. So it's written by Post Malone and Adrian Wassel with art by Nathan C. Gooden. Released from Vault Comics like 2 years ago, year and a half ago. It's 5 issues, or 4 issues. But what they don't tell you is that they're 4 double-sized issues. So instead of going for a 6 or an 8 issue series, this is like 4 double stuffed issues. And I'm okay with that too. So before I get into why I liked it, I want to get your guys' reaction to Big Rig. This is the story of post-apocalyptic Europe. It says the Dark Ages, but it feels like post-apocalyptic, where hell has invaded Earth and there's dead zombies and demons running around, and the priests pray to the god to send some kind of rescue, and the gods respond by sending them an 18-wheeler full of ammunition. And that's all you need to know. That's all you need to know. There's a big rig in post-apocalyptic zombie-ridden Earth.
Are we sure it's post-apocalyptic?
I don't know. It says the Dark Ages.
No, it's in the past.
Yeah, it's in the past, but it really feels like, I don't know, post-apocalyptic to me.
That I think is the biggest caveat that I have about this, because I've read it twice, and until Rodrigo said that, I trust Rodrigo, but I don't know, and I didn't know whether or not this is something that's the literal Dark Ages or a future Dark Ages, and that's kind of, for me, the part that is not distressing, but disconcerting, in that when a story just sort of happens, when there are things that are inexplicable, I really want something that you could grab a hold of and hang on to. And this is don't get me wrong, this is a great elevator pitch. This is like top notch. Like, what if somebody, in the Dark Ages prayed and what they sent him was Optimus Prime? That's a really, really great premise. And I feel like the way that it plays out, I don't hate, but I also feel like I didn't grok it in the Heinlein sense, not in the Nazi sense. It didn't feel like I was fully privy to everything that this story felt like I wanted to know.
Yeah, no. So also the Heinlein sense is also problematic. So just kind of keep that in mind. So here's the thing. Mm-hmm. This is one of those things where I feel like at some point in an alternate reality, Sam Raimi and Post Malone were enjoying a Merlot at Chateau Marmot. And Sam Raimi was like, I have this idea for a 3rd installment of my Evil Dead series where Ash goes back in time, but he takes his Buick and all of his technology with him to fight the Deadites. And Post Malone downed the rest of his Merlot and said, step aside. I got the perfect story for you. It's called Big Rig. Because this feels like Post Malone trying to take on Army of Darkness, but instead of Ash, it's a defrocked Crusader, and instead of his Buick and a boomstick, it's a big rig with a M60 mounted on top, or whatever that cannon is mounted on top of the truck. And they're just going through and they're blowing deadites up left and right. As soon as I saw what that was, I was like, oh, I can get behind this kind of ridiculousness. I agree with you that had I gone in with this going, I'm going to take this comic very seriously because it is by a well-regarded musician, I probably would have gone, I have no idea what this crap is. But I went in and said, okay, let's just have weird fun with this. And it kind of came out that way. Rodrigo, what about you?
Yeah, I was, so I, it's pretty open. So when I got to you pretty early on, you see the premise, and the premise is, what if the weapon that God sends you is an 18-wheeler? As I was reading it, it struck me that, and it's not because it was bad, but the thing that struck me was like, it's actually hard to live up to this premise. This premise is like very ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's like, here's this like over the top, totally bodacious, totally radical premise.
Yeah, extreme.
It's like, here you go, writing team. This is your comic to screw up now, right? It's like, are you going to be able to live up to this idea? And I'm not sure that the answer for this was yes.
Yeah.
But it's not like it's not a bad comic. It's just like, I'm still sitting here thinking, did they actually do justice to this crazy idea? And I still, to this point, I read it yesterday and I've been thinking about it all day, and I'm still going back and forth as to whether I feel that whether they nailed it or not.
So if I said, just imagine this as an Army of Darkness, would that make this make any more sense? Because quite honestly, the ending of Army of Darkness doesn't hold up whether you're watching the original or if you're watching the director's cut. Although that did allow a TV series and multiple more movies to be spun off from that. I think if you just put it in that wacky, here you are in Dark Ages times, and somehow Ash is able to craft a metal hand for himself, even though he's kind of an idiot, then the big rig kind of works.
What it is for me, I think, the part that I keep going back and forth on is the fact that it is played so straight.
Yeah.
Just absolutely straight. Like, it's the Dark Ages, it's the ancient world. Nobody knows what a truck looks like, so nobody comments on like the ridiculousness of it. The main character is like a strong silent type. So he maybe has like some slight questioning of like, why was I sent this? But then when you see how effective it is at mowing down monsters, then it's fine. There's these two other characters that join him on his quest, and they are like played like completely straight, like the two people that you would see with Conan or in the 13th Warrior or whatever, right? It's like, we are doing this like swords and sandals kind of thing. Here are two characters that would be completely at home in that. No comic relief other than like, some like jokes that people tell. And there's some like interesting kind of funny things, and that like one of the pagan characters can talk to God, but the
via the CB, by the way.
Which again is like really funny and interesting, but it's just played so straight. And I go back and forth on that.
Yeah.
Like, I actually really respect the idea of having like really ridiculous premise that you play straight. Yeah. Famously, like Michael Caine has talked about doing like Muppet Christmas Carol. And one of the reasons why it's so good is because he plays it completely straight, right? Yeah. There's no nudge, nudge or wink, wink. Look at these funny Muppets. He's like completely in it. And to him, it's a drama, right? So going back to this is like, it is kind of fun and interesting to see this character who is completely joyless about running over a bunch of zombies in a giant truck.
Yeah.
But at times I'm like, I wish there was some acknowledgement of the fact that this is like an entirely ridiculous premise. I really go back and forth on it.
Yeah. No, I get where you're coming from, because again, going back to when this comic first came out, and Vault was saying, hey, can you guys write about this. I don't know if we were one of the first websites to write about the vault or if we had an exclusive way back when. But, they were really pushing it. And I was like, yeah, okay, this sounds interesting. And then I read it and saw some of the early pages. I'm like, no, I don't think this is going to be. I mean, personally, I was like, I think this is too weird and wacky. But now that I read it, and I think because if you look at it as taking a ridiculous concept and doing it straight, I really kind of like it. Now, that's not to say that this story doesn't have problems. I think that there's a bunch of problems I guess it's starting in chapter 5, where we suddenly jump ahead to where the rig is now outside this major city, and our two non-Christian characters are being held by the Pope or the vicar or whoever he is. I think that's where the story kind of has its problems, or starts to have its problems. But if it's like, hey, pop this into third gear and let's roll out, I kind of like that ridiculousness. But yeah, there are some problems with the story. I think that, I don't know. I like it. I like it. I think the other thing that I really, really, really like about this is initially when I saw the first 6 pages of the art, I was like, this might be a little bit too gross and over the top for me. But now I look at this, I'm like, oh no, this art is really spectacular. This artist knows his proportions. He knows his design. He knows anatomy. And the art in this book is just, in my mind, fantastic. Thoughts, Matthew?
There are parts of it, and I don't necessarily ever have the point where I'm like, this might be too gruesome or horrific for me. I did find the end, I think it may be the end of the story, or close to the end of the story, where he has Lucifer bound and is draining
using her blood for the fuel. Yeah. That's
yeah, there's the whole thing. There's just like a really unpleasant sexual undertone to everything that Lucifer does that bugs me. And I get it. I understand what you're doing here. I especially understand it, in the context of the literal Dark Ages. But, I mean, really, for me, to engage with this, as I said, I feel like there's a really great moment where, the truck arrives and Jonathan is like, what is this? And he takes the trucker hat and he looks at the hat. And you can hear the angels going, oh, and he puts on the hat and becomes all that is trucker. I love that. And I really like the part where, it's very clear that they're spending issue 2 fighting Audrey 2.
Yeah.
I feel like the bits of it that work in spite of the fact that, sometimes we'll have debates, and the people online especially, and my child, I want to smack them sometimes. It's like, oh, this is just a filler episode. This doesn't do anything. It's not a filler episode. It is a story. It's a character. It's an episode that allows you to feel the tone, the themes, the vibe, for lack of a better word. And I feel like maybe that could be what I'm missing. I mean, I agree that when you have a premise that is just BF crazy, and this is, you either commit to it, COMIT, or you point and laugh. I feel like the commit beyond all is my favorite. It's the better of the two approaches for me. But I also get how it's not going to be that for everyone.
Yeah.
That said, I did giggle when the little barbarian girl was like, the rocks explode!
Yeah, when she threw a grenade. Or I like the things where she, the cigarette bit, where she's like, what are you smoking? He's like, a cigarette, or he's trying to explain it to her. She's like, where did you get those? And he's like, the glove box. And she's like, can I have one? He's like, no. And it's just like, it's just that kind of weird, ridiculous, stuff that just makes this work. I think what works really well is just the character interactions, because you do have the driver who is been cast out from the Crusaders, and then you have the witch / Viking girl, and then you have the Asian samurai. Well, she's not really a samurai, but she is a
she's like an archer.
Yeah,
type.
an archer. Yeah. All together, and just their culture clash. They get along fine, but it's their different culture, their different way of interacting with one another that really also, to me, brings some humor in it. Not in a malicious way, but in a, oh my gosh, this is silly how they're just getting along and just throwing crap at each other throughout this entire adventure. Rodrigo, thoughts on the art?
It's fantastic. It's really like, there are times when I'm like, I don't like what's happening on the panel, but the art is really good, right? There are a lot of like people being dismembered and crushed and stuff like that, and that I can take or leave a lot of the time, but the art is really good. There's a character who has a really significant costume change, and I knew who it was. Right, it's like the character designs on top of everything are really good and distinctive. The only issue that I had with the art, and this is, I think, a combined like art and writing thing, is that sometimes I feel like they weren't kind of, or they were kind of stretching sort of the conventions of comic book time. Like there's this thing where it's just like this like tight, like, I don't know, like more than like maybe 9 panels, maybe 12 panels in a page. And then like a significant amount of time passes somewhere in the middle. And it's like we're going to go off and do this. And then there's like one of the panels is like a picture of a pot being like boiled. And then the next the next panel is like, we're back with the thing. And it's like, what? Right? And like, you are right, as like as Western comic book readers, like that does not tell us that time has passed. That panel was too short, right? We need like a visual representation of time having passed, an establishing shot, a wider panel, something. And I think stuff like that kind of happens throughout. And I assume it's because they don't have a lot of space to tell the story. So sometimes they have to like kind of cheat it a little bit, which I guess is fine. But it, threw me off here and there. It's really the only issue that I have with the art. And I guess maybe this is more of a layout thing.
I'm going to just have to track this artist down and see what more of Nathan C. Gooden's art is, because it really, really just blew me away. And I think part of it is the fact that this issue, for the most part, is black and white. So, shades of gray. And I think that helps the art really stand on its own without having to have a lot of splashy color. The only time we do get color in here is when it's blood demon related.
Right.
And I wonder what the printing process like that is, because, if you do something in black and white, that's going to be a lot less expensive than having to do, multiple passes for color. But then if you're doing black and white with red, Marvel is doing this right now with its Black, White, and Blood series of comics. They did it with Punisher and Blade, and I think Predator, and I think one other one. Does that actually save any money, or is it actually costing you significantly more money? So if it's a black and white comic with splashes of color here and there, is that as expensive as doing just a full color comic, as opposed to just doing a full color black and white comic? And so I'm just interested in that process. Somebody out there who's listening probably knows this answer and can provide it to us. Anything else you guys wanted to talk about with Big Rig?
I feel like the art reminds me of sort of a midpoint between Charlie Adlard, who did Walking Dead for years, and Juan Jose Rip, who I know most from Avatar comics without the crazy eyes. Juan Jose Rip is really, really incredibly hyper detailed and blood and guts and screaming and stuff. And if you like either of those guys, I really appreciate the fact that this style has elements of both, but avoids the pitfalls that I dislike about either. So,
for me,
that's gorgeous.
Yeah, for me, when I say and I think a lot of people know, I'm not a huge blood and gore. I'm not gore for gore's sake kind of stuff. That was one of the things that originally put me off on The Walking Dead. But, the opening pages of the preview art, when it was originally sent to us, has, like this grotesque demon, and you've got a crow pulling at an eyeball with all the parts of the eyeball around, and demon chomping on the eyeball. And I'm like, that's a little bit too much for me. And as Rodrigo mentioned, a lot of dismemberment, which typically turns me off. But again, maybe because it's in black and white, maybe because the art is so good, it didn't bother me as much. And I think maybe had this been in color, where we do get to see all the viscera and blood and guts, might have turned me off more. But I kind of like this in black and white. Bottom line for me is, if you are a fan of Army of Darkness and you can get behind that weirdness, I think you'll enjoy Big Rig a lot. Otherwise, this is probably a check it out from the library. But I still really enjoyed this a lot. Bottom line from you, Matthew?
It's difficult for me because there are times when I feel like when I read a comic, I say, this is good, but I wanted X and Y, and that's not what the book does. And I feel like this is definitely worth your time, even though the things that I wish were in it weren't in it, if that makes sense. I appreciate what they did, and I do feel that the unbelievable ingenuity of this goofy premise working as well as it does, it's definitely worth your time. I would say maybe saunter right out in a buying curiousness rather than a frenzy, but I think you should check this out some way or another.
Yeah. Rodrigo, final thoughts from you.
I think the art and the premise really carry this. Whether you feel the comic as a whole is effective or not, it is just such a weird artifact. And on top of that, it was written by Post Malone.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe get it. So you can at least show it to your friends and be like, hey, have you seen this weird comic that Post Malone wrote? It's about, well, here, just look at it. Yeah.
And maybe if you're in Utah, you can get Post Malone to autograph it for you if you bump into him at the comic book store, for sure. I will say this. If I do see Post Malone has written another comic book that is not a sequel to this, although the ending of this does have a sequel, I'm going to take a pause and I'm going to probably check it out. So there you go.
Yeah.
Listeners, thank you so much for joining us this week on the Major Spoilers Podcast. We hope you've enjoyed it. If you found some value in the show, how about giving a little value back by pointing your browser and signing up today at patreon.com/Major Spoilers, or even helping us get to 500 subscribers on our newsletter list, majorspoilers.substack.com. Show us the love. We're trying to hit 500 subscribers by February 14th. Next week on the show, we're going into space because Smikey demanded it when we look at space opera Xanadax Across the Unknown Dimensions. Why? Because we know that you love comics. We do too. And we will talk with you soon.
If I had the X-ray vision of a Superman, I could save a few bucks and stand around and read through the covers of the comics on the stand. But although every other page would be backwards, I suppose I could still read the evens and the odds. Well, I don't know. Guess I haven't thought this all the way through. Plus, as soon as the comic book store guy knew, he kicked my butt out on the corner. What a major spoiler. What a major spoiler. Think about a better way. If I was hulking green or gray, I could just bust through that brick wall, take their comic books away. But then the little meat would deal with all the tanks and bombs and guns. Have you ever tried to read a series with all that going on? Guess I need to rethink this plan. How would I back and board my comics with such huge hands? Guess I already told ya. What a major spoiler. What a major spoiler. Yeah, yeah, yeah. What a major spoiler. What a major spoiler. If I'm Stark Raven, Rich fights like a man of iron. I might not be surprised to find that I might actually have the heart cold to follow an entire storyline. But would I really even need to read up on all those escapades? I mean, who needs such distractions when your sister's such a babe? But the downside is such a beast, being shot up in a fun, being in the Middle East with a King San throwing soldier. What a major spoiler! What a major spoiler! Yeah, yeah, yeah! What a major spoiler! Whoa, 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 whoa! What a major spoiler!
This podcast is copyright 2026 by Major Spoilers Entertainment, LLC.